Hey guys, Mr. Happy here and welcome to another lore video for Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. This video we're going to be discussing more events that have taken place in patch 2.2 and where they might lead us. As usual, there are story spoilers here, so if you have not yet completed the main story up until the end of patch 2.2, I recommend turning away now. So last week, I made two lore videos. One of them was an overview of the patch 2.2 story, and the other theorized a bit about Garlemald and where they currently stand. If you want to go check those videos out, go check them out. They're on my channel. This time, there is a single scene in the story that brought about a lot of questions, a great cliffhanger, if you will. Teleji Adeleji, leader of the Mirage Trust in Ul'dah. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the Mirage Trust is the head of the Platinum Mirage in Ul'dah, which is an exclusive club of gambling and entertainment. It became so esteemed that back in 1.0 this was explained, that the Pugilists Guild was actually formed to deal with those who were dodging payments and to protect high-profile participants. Now, a lot of people seem to think that the Platinum Mirage will also be home to the Golden Saucer, so it's almost fitting that this character, Teleji Adeleji, is actually a major point in this video if the Golden Saucer, or the Gold Saucer as it's being called in Final Fantasy XIV, is actually going to be held within the Platinum Mirage. Well, anyway, at the end of the patch 2.2 story, Teleji Adeleji was shown waiting after a meeting with the Syndicate. Eventually, one of his manservants, which was funny, that just says Teleji Adeleji's manservant, rushed to his side and told him his orders had been done, before questioning what purpose they really served. Teleji's response was one word: revolution. And now the questions begin. What kind of revolution? Who is he even revolting against? And for what cause? I mean, well, let's look at some of the clues before I even drop what I think it all comes down to. Now, first off, Teleji Adeleji, of course, has been around since the game first launched back in 2010, back in 1.0. So his involvement in Ul'dah has been for many, many years. It's not just something that's just recent to 2.0. Back in 1.0, talking to Teleji Adeleji would provide him the chance to introduce himself, but he also lets off a bit of steam in this conversation. He shows a great angst against Raubon specifically, who he said amassed a great amount of blood money. He became very wealthy off blood money, which, we all know what that leads to. And then he abandoned the city-states. He just left after he had amassed this wealth. He only returned when he found out that Garlemald was threatening to invade, and he reforged the Immortal Flames, although Teleji Adeleji says they're a joke of what they used to be. He also showed a great distaste for the other two nations, seeing no profit in an alliance with them at all, as well as fearing that they're going to use the chaos and confusion to dig into Ul'dah's coffers. Now, this is kind of in contrast to his appearance in patch 2.2. We don't get to see too much of an interaction with the other city-states, but he just doesn't seem to be himself. And, let's see. First of all, he shares a seat alongside Raubon, which you would expect with how much hatred he had for him, that he would never share a seat next to him in the Syndicate. And he even supports his decisions to allow the Doman refugees to live in Ul'dah. Now, Alphinaud makes sure to let everybody know that he is a very greedy person, Teleji Adeleji. I mean, he's the head of the Mirage Trust. He's one of the wealthiest people. And, of course, gambling and collecting debts and things like that, it's not very fair business. But he obviously just sees profit in allowing these refugees to come live in Ul'dah. In fact, Lolo Rito makes it apparent that Teleji Adeleji already employs many other refugees, Alamegan refugees. So more refugees would just mean more cheap labor for him and more gil. So with these details in mind, what kind of revolution could Teleji Adeleji really be planning? I mean, he's already got a ton of money. With someone with his degree of wealth is no doubt happy with his current state of affairs. Although Lolo Rito seems to think that maybe they're in a little bit of shambles. He does have previous issues with the Syndicate, it seems also, especially with Raubon, as we've already said, who he may just be using as a means to an end. I originally considered a few things. One big one was that he was possibly aiding the Alamegan refugees with a revolution to re-glorify their city-state using Ul'dah as a base of operations. I don't know. That doesn't seem to be that truthful to me anymore. Originally, I was using the context clue of a much earlier event in the main story where the Alamegan refugees tried to summon Ralgar, which was one of the 12, and they were going to use him as a means to their own ends. That was under Ascian influence. They let the Ascians influence them and try to help them summon Ralgar. So that was a big thing right there that told me this could be an Alamegan revolution. But The issue really does seem more specific to just Ul'dah and the way that the inner workings of Ul'dah are. I mean, he was also using Doman refugees to increase his wealth. I mean, you can't imagine that he's going to use Doman refugees to help the Alamigan refugees revolt and take over Ul'dah. They wouldn't be so willing right away, especially after some of the syndicate did want them in. They wouldn't just revolt against just a part of the syndicate, because there was a part that wanted them in. I just don't understand how that would happen. And of course, Raoban and what's her name? I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The leader of Ul'dah, the leader of the syndicate. She there's no way they would just let that happen. There's no way. So really, I think that it's just there's something else here. It's more than just he wants to take over Ul'dah for his own selfish reasons, so he wants to revolt against the syndicate. And then I noticed there's a context clue that I kind of overlooked until pretty recently, when I was finally getting down to nailing down the details for this video. Now, the big context clue is when we find out about Teleji Adeleji's revolution. I mean, prior to the scene with Teleji Adeleji, Urianger and Minfilia are in the Rising Stones, and they speak of an ancient magic similar to Ultima being used to wipe out the students of Baldesion and their island. They also know that Elidibus, the emissary of the Ascians, is pulling a lot of strings behind their back, even now. Perhaps Teleji Adeleji is another string. I mean, perhaps he's fallen under Ascian influence. I mean, it would be pretty odd to go from, I mean, if you look at the way that they handled the scenes, they went from a scene that was basically the students of Baldesion were destroyed by something like Ultima to this guy in the syndicate wants to make a little bit more money. It'd be pretty hard to believe that these two scenes aren't strongly connected, especially that the scene of the students of Baldesion's island being destroyed, that is immediately before this scene. There's no way, there's no sort of context clue as to these two events being very much related. So it's also strange to see how uncharacteristically kind he is to the Doman refugees. Even if he is seeking cheap help from the refugees, would Teleji Adeleji really go as far as to offer them transportation to Mordona, the place where they're going to be working instead, and that takes money out of his own pocket? He is paying for this transportation. I mean, this seems like an unlikely investment. What, half of them are going to decide, no, I don't want to go, I'll just stay and work for this guy? That seems very unlikely. And then I considered one last thing. The only investment I could see in this, he knows that the Rising Stones, he has to, because he's on the Syndicate of Ul'dah, and the Syndicate does work very closely with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. He has to know that they moved to the Rising that they moved from the Waking Sands, the Scions, to the Rising Stones. He has to know that. There's no way he doesn't know that, and that is, of course, situated in Mordona. Would this not provide him ample opportunity to spy on their inner workings? Especially if Lady Yugiri, who he is being extremely kind to, is now trusting of him. Is this not now a way for him to get inside of the Rising Stones and really look at what they're planning to do and stay one step ahead of them? I mean, the Ascians already basically did that with Thancred. Why can't he be the same thing? Just because Thancred was way closer to the Scions doesn't mean Teleji Adeleji. I mean, he's a man of great wealth and great power. That's a great person to have under Ascian influence, and somebody who should be very easy to influence as well because of his greed. So I am feeling more and more like Teleji Adeleji's quote-unquote revolution is just meant to be further chaos to help feed the resurrection of Zodiark. He's going to sow some seeds of chaos and especially of conflict, and I really think there's going to be a big issue between the three city-states, and it is going to be fed by Teleji Adeleji's revolution. But let me know what you guys think. Are there any other context clues I missed? Please, because there's some I do miss details, and if there's anything else you think I should be looking over for this theory, please let me know. Also, what are some theories you guys got? Be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, by the way. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Check out some of my other videos on my channel while you're at it. Also, be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, especially if you got anything to say about this. Post it on my wall or something like that. See if you can get a discussion started. I really enjoy those things. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitch, where I do live stream occasionally. Haven't had much time for it lately, but I'm going to be trying to get back and do a little bit more streaming in the near future. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.